the summit. Moving ahead, right now I would like to invite upon stage Mr. Varun Aggarwal, the co-founder of Aspiring Minds, to make a presentation on their annual report, National Employability Report for Engineering Graduates 2011. Mr. Aggarwal did his master's in electrical engineering and computer science at MIT, and during his graduate studies, he worked on developing and applying learning and optimization techniques to a variety of real-world problems, such as circuit modeling and design, parallel processing, and network coding. While at MIT, he founded the MIT India Reading Group, a platform for collaborative research on India-centric issues. In 2007, he co-founded Aspiring Minds, a standardized assessment company, to foster greater equity in the Indian employment market. Aspiring Minds AMCAT, a standardized test similar to GMAT, provides a benchmark for employers to evaluate candidates for hiring. May I please invite Mr. Varun Aggarwal upon stage for his presentation.
Good morning all of you. Can we switch to the, oh, excellent, thank you. Thank you. So good morning, all of you, who've come from across the nation, from various educational institutes, government bodies, and other friends who have gathered here to discuss how to better education in India. As the minister also spoke, one of the goals of education is to facilitate employment, which leads to self-reliance and a way to lead a respectable life. In this context of employment, I would like to share some of our findings which we have gathered, which are a result of more than 4 years of work in understanding higher education and industrial requirements, working with more than 5 lakh students, more than 120 companies across all states of the country. So, as the minister was saying, we don't need a mandate from the state government to go and work in any state. As a private body, we can just go and start working with colleges, and that makes it a lot more easier for us to go and work with all of them. So we did this report, which is the second report in the series, which looks at employability patterns across the country. The report runs into several pages, having regional comparisons, gender comparisons, comparisons across colleges. However, in this presentation, I would like to just touch a few actionable items which come out of the report. So what are the explorations we are doing? We all know there is a problem of low employability in India. That is not the genesis of the talk I want to give today. I think all of us here are aware that employability is low in India. And what does that mean? That means that out of every 100 people who graduate out of higher education, there's a minuscule fraction which are actually suitable for being employed in the knowledge economy. What I would like to talk more about is where is the gap? Why is employability low in the country? What all of us who have come together here can do to improve this employability in our country? We all talk about where we are today, having all these very low figures of employability, of skills in the country, but where do we want to go? And that is another vision which I would like to share with all of you today. And if there's an agreement on that vision, probably that is something which we all as a set can go forward on achieving. And as I also have the privilege of being one of the early speakers today, I hope this vision can become a topic of discussion and debate across the many enlightening discussions which are to happen. And finally, I would want to go beyond what the education system can do in improving employability. Our results and statistics show that there's something, a larger problem which looms over employability than the education standards in the country. And that's something which I want to talk about, and all my industrial friends here and from the government, I think there's a healing touch which is needed, which can suddenly change how employability is perceived. So that's a thought experiment I'll share towards the end of the presentation. So before I go into the finding of the reports, what is the basis of this report? Many reports come out, but I think we need some objective basis as to how we are getting our findings. So this report is based on a sample of more than 55,000 engineering students who have taken a standardized employability test called AMCAT across the country. All these students took the test under a proctored environment to get an understanding of their employability skills, their strengths and weaknesses, and to get into a database to get job opportunities. So this is spread across the whole country, all Indian states, more than 1,200 colleges, and a stratified sample was built out of that, which represents the population diversity in the same proportion as it is in the country. AMCAT is India's largest employability test. More than 6.5 lakh students have taken this test to judge their employability, understand their fitment in various sectors as IT services, IT product, in the MBA domain, in customer service roles, operation roles, sales roles, so on and so forth, and for graduates in various other roles. There have been more than 120 companies who use this test as a way to recruit and assess students for recruitment. We work with 5 out of the top 10 IT companies where we build benchmarks on what are the right scores on this test for someone to get recruited and get a job. And from that's how we define employability. So this data is the basis of the report which I'll share with you. So the first thing, national report card, I'm sure you have seen such figures before also, so nothing new in that. If you look at the IT services employability, which is the IT services sector, which is probably one of the largest sectors in the knowledge-based economy, only 17.45% engineers who graduate every year are employable in the IT services sector. If you look at IT products, it is 2.68%, which is very, very low. So what I'm saying here is that in a college where there are 400 students in a single year, out of those 400 students, there are only 10 probably people who are employable in the IT product sector. And what we mean by IT product sector would be companies like your Google, Amazon, Adobe, which really build products, or your Microsoft, like a Microsoft Office or Adobe Page Makers, things like that, as opposed to IT services companies, which would be your Infosys, your Accenture, your Wipro, TCS, so on and so forth. So why so low? As I said initially, we all know it's low, but why is it so low? And especially IT product going to 2.68. So I'll just concentrate on these two figures to begin with. So let's see, what makes it so low? So the first thing which the industry is looking for, what they call soft skill trainable. See, they're not saying soft skill competent, they're saying soft skill trainable. So what the industry is looking for, someone who when comes in, within 3 to 6 months, they can train him or her in soft skills. And what are these soft skills? Not anything, not soft skills of an hospitality industry, nothing as complicated as that, not in behaviors and mannerisms, but something as simple as understanding English. Can you understand directions in English? Can you comprehend an email which you get from your client? Can you understand an email which you get from a colleague? Can you reply back to that email or that direction in a meaningful way? That is all what the IT industry is looking for at this point of time. Someone who can comprehend and communicate in good English. And they're not also looking at someone who at the outset can communicate in good English, but someone who they can put through a 3 to 6 months training, and at the end of that training, he can speak and understand English. And only 46% of our engineers today, out of the 6 lakh engineers we have, are soft skill trainable. So that's the first component. So 54% go away here. Another 54% people are the ones who are technically trainable. Again, not technically competent, but all we are looking at is technically trainable. So if you look at all the IT services companies we have across the country, they all put them through 3 to 6 months of training where they'll teach them computer programming and software engineering. Now the problem again is that, so what is technical trainability? Our research shows that all you need to know to be technically trainable is to know basic quantitative ability, not complicated quantitative ability, class 12th or class 10th quantitative ability to be precise, basic logical ability, and just exposure to the domain. So when you talk about computer programming, you should just, at least have sit on a computer and written 10 programs. You should know that there's a language called C. You should know the basic constructs of C, or any language. It's not really about the language, but know about the paradigm of programming. And there are only 54% people who know of the engineers who can do this. Because again, the industry, once these people have these initial raw material is there, they can train them over the 3 to 6 months. And unfortunately, that's one of the things the engineering schools have to impart, but it's not really happening. So this is a bad plus sign. So what the plus sign here means is that you need to be soft skill trainable and need to be technically trainable, but this plus sign doesn't make the sum higher, it makes it lower, right? So the percent of people who are both soft skill trainable and technically trainable are only 17.45%. So when you put both the criteria together, that a person, so there are 46% who are soft skill trainable, there are 54% who are technically trainable, but you look at the intersection, there's only 17.45%, right? And that's what plagues us. But here's the shocking thing. Why are they so low for your IT product thing? So domain trained, what do I mean by domain trained, is that anyone who knows, so would know some computer science, basic operating systems, know how to do computer programming, has some knowledge of algorithms, is someone who an IT product company can hire, because these guys are the ones who will do product innovation rather than doing the repetitive services work. That's only 8%. And that 8% plus, as I already said, this plus is a bad plus. So when you plus, it becomes 2.68%. But we have already hit the ceiling with 8%. So even if you keep improving your English and your logical, quantitative, the soft skills and technical trainability, till we don't get the domain skills right, we cannot just take this 2.68% higher. And that's where the problem is. We really, really need to train these people in domain. Let's go a bit more into the detail of this. What did I mean when I said they are not soft skill trainable? So our studies show that 51% engineers do not know the meaning of words such as absurd, generic, seize, adamant. These are statistics which are captured out of our test, the English module which we have, and more than 51% students cannot do these simple words. And that's, again, what plagues. So how do you really train these people who would not even know these simple words such as these? This is even more shocking. 42% engineers cannot divide and multiply decimal numbers. So a number which has a decimal point and more numbers, they cannot multiply and divide them. Now, this is something which, is a skill which someone needs, and that's why it is so shocking. You need this skill in the high school, pretty much should be taught in the high school. It's a skill of life importance. When you're conducting your day-to-day life, you might have to multiply and divide decimal numbers, So this is a big problem. And this is even before they're entering the engineering school that these problems start showing up. So what is the solution? How do we solve it? I think one of the things which is going wrong and which the study shows is, we start talking about employability in the 4th year or the 3rd year of studies. That's not right. We just discussed that more than only 17% are technically trainable. 17% are people who are technically and soft skill trainable, right? If they don't have these skills at the outset, when they join the engineering college, the 4 year of engineering education investment you are making on them goes for a toss. They cannot learn, right? Because they can't understand basic math. They cannot don't understand basic English. All of our engineering education is in English, right? So what is the solution? We don't have to do the intervention in the 3rd or 4th year. We need to do the intervention as soon as these students come into the engineering school. We need to do an assessment, identify where are the gaps on their technical trainability and their soft skill trainability, and start filling those gaps so that at the end of the 1st semester, they are technical trainable and soft skill trainable. Because only then will your 4 years of curriculum, they'll be able to absorb it. Because if they don't have that, they cannot do it. So identify at the induction, bridge it quickly. At the end of the 1st semester, it needs to be bridged. Teach the domain. As I said, till we don't break that 8% ceiling of people not knowing the domain subject, and that's not only about talking about computer science, but talking about mechanical engineering, talking about electrical engineering, it is very relevant. And also what all of us here should remember, that a lot of jobs in India are not being created by the IT services sector, the large IT services sector, but a bunch of small and medium-sized enterprises. Tens of thousands of small and medium-sized enterprises which are looking for people, but they do not have infrastructure to train these people. When they come out of your college and our colleges, they want these people to be already trained, right? And for these people to get employment and for these SMEs to progress, we need people who are already domain trained, right? And there should be a concentration on teaching the domain. As everyone says, I thought I'll also put it in my presentation that problem-solving approach and not rote learning. Though I think none of us know how to do it scalably, but it's fashionable. But I agree in concept that we need to do problem-solving more than rote learning, and that's what our studies also show. And then track it year on year. So the solution is to identify the soft skills and the technical training inputs in the first year, bridge them, track them using assessments, see if the students got it, then teach them domain and keep tracking the domain over the next 4 years. The problem is that we start thinking about employment in the 4th year, and the bus has already left by then, right? You cannot do much now. You cannot now teach someone who didn't know how to multiply and divide numbers to make him employable. So that's the first thought of where the problem is and how to bridge it. So let's talk about the second part of my presentation, where I said, let's see where we are today and where do we want to go. And, and it will be interesting to have comments on it. Where we are more than 6 lakh engineering graduates coming out every year. That means in steady state, there's 6 lakhs into 4, 25 lakh engineering students. More than 2,500 plus colleges. Every year when I open the newspaper, there's a new number springs up. So last number I saw was 3,000 plus, but I think the right estimate would be somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000. And only 1 lakh employable. And I'm talking about the IT services sector here. So that means 5 lakh not employable, which is these people don't have jobs. But remember, 5 lakh unemployable people are also, who have degrees in their hand are socially dangerous. So where do we go from here? See, we have done a great job in capacity building. We have 6 lakh engineers. USA today, which is already 4 times than what USA creates. The USA's number is between 1 lakh to 1.5 lakhs. We do not need more engineers. We have enough capacity across the nation. So my vision would be that not more than 8 lakh engineers. We are doing very well in building capacity across the nation. If you look at various studies, there's of the amount of workforce we'll need. What will serve us is having more employable people. So my vision is that less than 8 lakh engineers, but more than 6 lakh employable. We need 70 to 80% of them employable. And that's what solves our problem. We have done a great job, as I said, in building capacity, all the efforts which have been put to open more institutions. But all our studies show that if you, in any state, any region, any city, more the number of engineering colleges, lesser is the employability percentage. So this is what has started plaguing us now. So we don't need more engineering colleges. We need better engineering colleges and better training. So the last thought, which was the healing touch thought, what else is going wrong? So I said there are 6 lakh engineers, 17.45% employable. That becomes 1 lakh engineers who are employable. Where are these employable engineers? And here's the thing. So what we segregated these engineers into 750 top campuses and the rest of more than 2,000 campuses in the country. Right? And so I wanted to see how many employable candidates are in the top 750 campuses versus the rest. Any guesses? Well, half of these engineers who are employable are in the top 750 campuses. But the other half are in the rest of the 2,000 campuses. And this is where the problem is. These 50,000 who are in the top 750 campuses get an employment opportunity. But these more than 50,000 employable engineers who are in the rest of the colleges do not get an employment opportunity because the industry goes and hires only from the top 750 campuses. And this is a very big problem because all these students in these colleges don't see any opportunity, right? So there is no incentive to become employable. In the same class, if there's 5 people who are employable, everyone sees that they work hard and they should get a job, they also don't get a job. And that's where I think the industry needs to do a healing touch. We should go beyond the name of the college to make our hiring decisions so that there are opportunities for these 5,000 employable students which are outside the top 750 campuses. Until opportunities do not trickle down to these 50,000 students, I don't think the employability problem will solve, because still people do not see incentive in becoming employable, they'll not become employable. So that sums up the 3 ideas which I wanted to share. Where we should be, I'll just reiterate, 6 lakh, we want 6 lakh employable candidates out of the 8 lakh and not 1 lakh, and more than 1 lakh who are employable in core jobs. And we want employment everywhere, not limited to a region, not limited to a college. Whoever is employable should get an employment opportunity, and that's what we think can solve the employability puzzle. Thanks everyone for your time. You can collect an executive summary of the report from our booth out here, and you can write to National Employability Report, that is NER 2011@aspiringminds.in for the full report. Thanks a lot for all your time, and happy to answer if there are any questions.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for the presentation. I'm sure everybody is having great insights into the presentations you made. And on behalf of Network 18, we would like to extend a small token of appreciation to you. Please accept the same.